Yeah. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Going for Two. I am Keywan Humphreys, and in this video, I'm gonna be talking about the New York Knicks. New York Knicks last night lost 124-105 to the Cleveland Cavaliers and are now 0-6. They have a 0-6 record against the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Boston Celtics this season. Before I talk about what I think is wrong with the team and how they're going to look moving into the playoffs, make sure y'all hit that subscribe button. Subscribe, like, comment, share with y'all folks, man, and let's get right into it. As I just said, 124-105 loss on Wednesday night to the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is a game that the Knicks were up. They were up, and they end up getting dominated in the second half and lost by roughly 19 points. Now, the thing with them losing these games to these two top teams, because the Celtics and the Cavs are the two top seeds in the Eastern Conference. It's not like they're just losing. They have a margin of margin of loss of like 20 points. They're getting beat by 20 points on average by both of these teams. Not together. They're getting beat by 20 points by the Celtics and getting beat by 20 points by the Cavaliers. And I want to say they got blown out as well by the Oklahoma City Thunder in one of their games. But I think they beat them too. Besides the point. The thing to me, with the New York Knicks, yes, they're third in the Eastern Conference with a 48-28 record, and they're comfortably in third with the third seed. But to me, this still feels like a kind of a year to them. This is a team that last year was in Game 7 from making the Eastern Conference Finals. They go out and they make moves. They trade for Mikal Bridges. They trade for Karl-Anthony Towns. They find a way to keep OG Anunoby. And it looks like they're putting together a team that's going to battle with the Celtics. They got a bunch of wings that can defend and shoot with OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges. And they go out and get a big that's going to help space the floor out even more in Karl-Anthony Towns. You surround them around your offensive juggernaut that is Jalen Brunson, and that should be a formula to at least make the conference finals. But sitting today, I don't see how they make the conference finals. I don't see how it happens. Now, granted, talking about last night's game against the Cavaliers, Jalen Brunson did not play. Jalen Brunson has been out for 15 straight games with an ankle injury. He rolled his ankle a couple weeks back against the Los Angeles Lakers. He's been out ever since. News, according to Shams, they're saying he's supposed to be back probably this weekend or early into next week. Okay, cool. That's fine. But the thing with that is he also has to work his way back into shape. It's tough for guys to come back off of a long extended rest and just be right back to where they were off before the injury. But I'm looking at the roster. I'm looking at the team. I'm looking at how they're playing. I'm looking at the stats. Because I was wondering, okay, what is wrong with the Knicks? Because I thought the Knicks would be a title contender this year. With the moves they made, I thought, okay, this is a team that can play with Boston. I didn't think the Cavs came out of nowhere to me. But I thought they would be able to play with Boston and they have a chance to get to the finals and ultimately win a championship with the pieces that they have. I look at the guys they added, look at the guys they lost. Like I said, they brought in Karl-Anthony Towns, brought in Mikal Bridges. They lost Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle and a bunch of other Isaiah Hartenstein as well. They lost him. They didn't trade him, but they did not sign him back. They lost Isaiah Hartenstein. They lost other guys like Bogdanovich, Alec Burks, guys of that nature that probably wasn't playing too much anyways. But I'm thinking, what are they missing? The stats are pretty much the same. They're one of the best. They're one of the highest teams in offensive rating. Defensive rating has dropped a little bit compared to last season, but hey, that's what's gonna happen when you lose when Mitchell Robinson, I believe he's still injured maybe. When you lose Mitchell Robinson, you lose Isaiah Hartenstein, you replace them with Karl-Anthony Towns, your defense is gonna naturally get worse. But everything else is relatively the same. Mikal Bridges had his struggles at the start of the year, but he's picked it up lately with the injury to Jalen Brunson. OG Anunoby has also picked it up with the injury to Jalen Brunson. Karl-Anthony Towns, he's scoring pretty much the same. He's averaging 24.3 points per game this year. Julius Randle averaged 24 points on the dot last season. So their production's pretty much evened out. So what is the key piece that is missing to this team? And I did some digging, I did some searching, and what I think it is, I think they're missing Dante DiVincenzo. And you wouldn't think of Dante as like a big piece to what they had going on last year, because you look at him right now in Minnesota, he's not playing nowhere near as good as he was last season. But if you look at his stats, you look at his production last year, especially with the injury to Julius Randle, where Dante DiVincenzo got elevated to the starting lineup, and he had to be that number 2 guy behind Jalen Brunson. He played phenomenal in that role. Dante DiVincenzo had one of the best three-point shooting seasons we've ever seen. Yes. He had 283 total threes and shot 40% from the three-point line. To show you how great of a season that was shooting the ball, these are some players that had similar seasons. You know, guys that have made, I want to say, 275 threes on 40% from three-point line. Those people are Stephen Curry, who's done it multiple times, Klay Thompson, who's done it multiple times, Buddy Hield has a couple seasons, and Dante DiVincenzo. And of course, Malik Beasley this season. Malik Beasley's he's been on an actual heater. He has 295 threes, shooting 42%, which is incredible, which is crazy. But just having that guy that's an absolute sniper on your team, it makes a difference. You know, that's just the way the game is now. It makes a difference. You know, it's like when you watch the Knicks, it's like, okay, they're missing something. They're missing something. They don't have that knockdown, guaranteed, this guy gonna, if you leave him as cash, they don't have that shooter. They don't got him. You know, these other guys, the guys they have can shoot. I'm not gonna sit here and say the guys they have can't shoot, but the guys they have are not giving that same production that DiVincenzo had last year when it came to shooting the ball. Their only three-point shooter that's over 40% is Karl-Anthony Towns, shooting 42.2% from the three-point line, but he's only taking 4.5 threes a game. When they made the trade to bring him over, I'm thinking, dang, the spacing on that team is going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy because Karl-Anthony Towns, he said he the best shooter, he the best shooting big ever. He shot like, I want to say 6 or 7 threes last season. I got to go check the stats. Now he's not taking nowhere near as many threes as he was last season. So that the game, the play, I believe the way they expected him to play, he's not playing the same. You know, yes, he's dominant. I ain't going to say he's not dominant, averaging 24 and 12 rebounds a game. But the play style that's going to fit them is not working. Not to mention, you know, Karl-Anthony Towns against these top teams is they're picking on him defensively. They're picking on him. They're putting him in the pick and roll every single time. And he's playing drop coverage, and they're just firing away. You know, the Celtics and the Cavs are 2 of the best three-point shooting teams in the league. And if you're going to play drop coverage against that, they're going to fire you up. They're going to burn your eyes out, man. They're going to burn your eyes out. So that's really just a couple things that I see from the Knicks, man. They're missing that three-point production that they had last year, you know, from a singular player. The threat, I would say the threat of this guy hitting hitting a bunch of threes, because the 3-point if you look at the averages, the three point totals they're hitting is roughly the same. But it's not always about the stats don't tell the whole story. You know, there were several games where Dante DiVincenzo had played big parts in the playoffs and big parts in getting them where they were to almost making the conference finals last year. You know, I think it's over? No. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet on them to beat the Celtics or the Cavs, though. I wouldn't bet on it. They would have to play the Celtics, in the second round. And right now, the playoffs started today. They would play against a Milwaukee Bucks team in the first round, who may or may not be getting Damian Lillard back. So I don't know. The Knicks are just kind of missing something. The writing may be on the wall for them. You know, not saying that they can't get better moving forward, but with 2 weeks left in the season, we pretty much know who teams are now. You know, this is very rare that a team's going to come out being completely different or way better than they were for the majority of the season. We're about 68, 67, almost 70 games into the season, man. So there's not too much you can show me or show anybody else about what you have left, another gear you can hit. But I believe Jalen Brunson is a superstar. I believe he's a guy that if he's on a heater, if he's dialed in to who he was last season in the playoffs, or even the season before that in the playoffs, you know, he may be able to make something shake. But until next time, man, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with y'all folks. Share with y'all folks. Until next time, go over till we out of here. Yeah.